Ladies and gentlemen, Raphael with a smile. How y'all doing? And welcome back to another episode of Let Me Say This. Sorry for the long break. We had a guy in the middle of the ocean. I myself had a nice little recharge. I'm pretty sure Raphael can say the same.
Yes,
Once
sir.
again, it is a blessing to be amongst your presence to talk these sports. We now finally have our finals matchup, a matchup that was okay, that was a little bit at least unexpected in a regards. We kind of saw one team getting there, the other team, and we didn't see them making it past the first round
I don't
two
know who
years in
we
a row.
is. I don't know
But
who we
they
is. I
they made
predicted
it. I mean, I'm speaking in terms of the beginning of the
it.
playoffs. Maybe, well, I ain't gonna say first round, but maybe making it to the finals. I guess you could say they overachieved this year. Shout out to the Indiana Pacers. Shout out to Oklahoma City Thunder. We finally got that underway. They finished those series. OKC finished in 5 games, as we all know, and Pacers just wrapped it up in 6 games. And let's start out west. What are you guys thinking out west? Like, how did you? What is your recap on that series out
Trey,
west?
I'll let you take it first, man. You got it first.
I felt like out west, pretty much is outside of. I think the first series is kind of what we expected out of OKC at this point. They came, they showed up, they delivered. They had a better series for the conference finals than they did the previous round. Jalen Williams showed up in a big way. Lou Dort showed up in a big way. The MVP, who was named and deemed the MVP of the entire league, showed up in a big way this series. Also capturing the finals MVP. I sent you a message while I was on vacation. I said it, MVP, finals MVP, or conference finals MVP, and what I expect to be a finals MVP on the way as well. Before I even really gave whoever they were going to face in the series a chance, I kind of picked them in 6 or 5. So I'm going to go ahead and make my prediction kind of early that the Thunder now against the Pacers will be done in 6. So that's what I got out west.
FOTL, and for those that don't know, that means face of the league. So
Yeah.
is he pretty much the face of the league?
I think he cemented himself pretty solidly as the face of the league coming
Championship
up
or
now.
not? Championship or not though? Championship or not though?
Championship or not? I think he's.
I think a championship is just a big plus.
Yeah. I think I do think I agree with Dre on that one. When we looked at the West, we kind of foresaw this happening, right? Like we all knew that in this one, Anthony Edwards was going to put up a fight, which he did. He had some good, decent game. He had some good scoring. In game 3, he scored 30 points. Julius Randle averaged 24 points in the series. So that it's not like they're a young team that still has an opportunity. They're kind of what Oklahoma City was last year. They're a young team with a really promising future. And I think he's going to fuel. I think Anthony Edwards is going to fuel this for next year. And I still think he's going to be the face of the league as well. I mean, you look at this playoff series between both conferences, you cemented brand new faces of the league and almost a new era. And at a point where we had LeBron, Kevin Durant, Klay Thompson, and Steph, now you're getting the Anthony Edwards, SGA, Jalen Brunson, and Tyrese Halliburton era.
It's kind of crazy because we got the guys that are in the middle of the generation, the ADs, the Jokic's, and the Giannis's. Those guys are in the middle, and then we got the older guys. They're all millennials still, but they're the older millennials, the LeBron, Steph's, KDs, and now we got the Gen Zs, the Zoomers, the SGAs, the Ants, the Hallies, and so now we got these guys. So I like the blend of the mix of the two generations, and then like I said, we got the guys that are stuck in the middle. Those guys are still producing. Jokic is still, I want to say, shout out to SGA. I'm not going to take nothing from him, but I still want to say Jokic is the best player in the NBA. As I'm not going to have any recency bias. Yeah, I'm not going to have any recency bias, but SGA is the man right now. And then we see what Halliburton's doing, Mr. Overrated, or now we got Stephen A saying, "Oh, I don't see him as a superstar" and stuff like that. I don't know. There might be a little personal feeling involved in that take, so that's why I kind of just blew that to the wayside. And then we got Anthony Edwards, a young and up and coming, a guy that I think they need to add some more pieces to get them over the hump, because you can't keep coming up short, and then the way you're losing, you lost in 5 last year, you lost in 5 this year. So I think they need to add a playmaker, a point guard that can facilitate and take something off Randall. And if they re-sign Randall, because I think Randall got 1 year on that contract, so I think he played his way into an extension, but we'll see.
But you got to look at it. They made it farther than they did last year, so they're making it a step further. You know what I'm saying? Like they're on the cusp. They're right there of being of they were on the cusp of really beating the Oklahoma City Thunder.
The Timberwolves.
I mean, not in the series. You look at the series, but if they would have had a couple other pieces,
this is the second straight trip to the conference.
Yeah, they made back-to-back conference finals appearances. Yes.
Yeah.
But you still look at it like they're still on the cusp. They're right there. 1 or 2 key pieces, and they're all the way in. And you have some big free agents that are available right now that are looking to go someplace to win a championship. One name that I could think of that would actually be pretty interesting is Giannis. And then you put Giannis there.
That's an interesting situation, because I think they would kind of have to. It's a lot of assets they would have to dump to get Giannis. Obviously, they're not gonna. I don't think Milwaukee is gonna woke Gobert, because you can't put Gobert and Giannis on the floor together. That's not gonna work.
No.
And 2, they don't have any, like Mike Conley. Maybe they're gonna want like a Nas Reed or Nickeil Alexander-Walker and a Jay McDaniels. I don't think Giannis to Minnesota is feasible for the Timberwolves. So.
I mean, but I'm just saying you got to throw out the possibilities, because you never know. I mean, you really never know.
Yeah,
we never saw Luka leaving Dallas and going to LA.
Right. Definitely.
Never saw that happening. So with a trade like that, you never know. Yeah. And I mean, give it up to Minnesota for fighting back. But I mean, I think we all saw SGA just prevailing. And
speaking of roster construction, I'm glad we're on this topic. You got a team like OKC who does, I don't want to say does it the right way, but does it, how they do it. But they're going to have to make some tough choices down the line. I know we speak in terms of the future, but they're going to also have to make some tough choices in the future, because you're not going to be able to pay all of those guys. Like, those guys are probably going to perform on that first contract, and then we're going to see who can we keep, and who, hey man, this is just the nature of the business, because the NBA has made it, even for teams that don't try to go out and buy players, it's still making it tough. The second apron is still making it tough for teams that draft and develop. So it's interesting to see what OKC will look like down the line, coming off this potential championship. You know what I'm saying? So I want to see how this plays out.
I don't think you really stress it if you're OKC. You still have enough assets built up and collateral as far as draft picks to continue to keep going to get young talent. I feel like at this point, if you just pick the 3, and I think they picked their 3, and Chet, Shea, and Jalen to build and completely stay around. If you look at the rest of the team is good for their system and what their team does.
A lot
but
of
they're all
players.
Expendable. Lou Dort, you could exit and insert him with half of the league and be able to perform the same way. So I don't think necessarily for OKC, as far as their roster construction, there's much really to overthink about. You pay your 3 players. You pay the guys that you picked to change this franchise, and they were all picked in the top 3, and they were picked in some 2 of them were naturally homegrown, picked in the top 3, but the other one that you traded for and you got an amazing haul and just a blessing out of it, in that trade with Paul George, like, you take that blessing and you run with it. And I think that's what they should do. And I did kind of want to backtrack to Minnesota, because what I didn't say, and I didn't speak on Minnesota, much to what I allude to with their roster construction as well, is in a couple of the games, 3, 4, and 5, they went from playing very well and pretty decent to playing pretty poorly for a couple of games there. Julius Randle, to whom somebody alluded to, put up 24. Also had a game where he shot abysmally. Didn't play in the second half, which played a big part of it. What I saw and what I alluded to in one of the very first episodes that we had on this series is the effects of playoff NBA coaching, the details, the changes from game to game, how they game plan around it. by game 4, the Thunder had completely found a way to take out Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle completely from the game. And when they took those two completely out of the game, I watched game 4. I was quite disappointed because Anthony Edwards was very pass happy, pass happy, pass happy, pass happy. Kind of some of the things that they talk about with LeBron being a very pass first kind of guy. And LeBron, to Anthony Edwards' points, he kind of alluded some words that were spoken by LeBron before, that I kept making the right play. And to talk about roster construction, Nas Reed is, I think, one of the contracts that is about to get ready to expire. You have to think about whether you want to bring him back and have him as a inconsistent force, or if somebody else chooses to offer him a contract that makes him a starter and pay him more. How does that factor into what happens with Minnesota? Raphael, you were talking about them being on the cusp. I see a team that is about to fall off the cusp of being right there at the conference finals twice and not being able to put up more than 1 or 2 wins.
And it's funny you say that, because when they traded Cat, we actually expected a drop off, but I guess you could say they maintained. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see how it goes again. Because I don't want to write them off. I kind of wrote them off prematurely. I'm like, yeah, they'll still make the playoffs, but they're not going to get back to what they got back to, and they ultimately got back to what they got back to. But this offseason is going to be a little bit more interesting. So I hear what you're saying.
But I still dare to say that they didn't completely overachieve this year. Compared to what their playoff positioning was at the beginning of the playoffs, many people still expected them to lose to the Lakers. It's just the Lakers lacked the big man depth to knock them out early.
They took advantage of the exploit. Exactly.
Right. So that's really the key difference that I see that probably would have changed how we're viewing Minnesota now. I still see their season as an overachieving reach, but nonetheless, a very good season all in all.
So I agree, and I agree with you that we're gonna have to wait to see what happens this offseason with Minnesota. I mean, it could go a bunch of different ways. I can kind of foresee them getting back, really not losing any steam. But again, we're not the guys in the organization that are making that call, that are going to make that decision, to see where they're going to go. But I could still see them being in that precipice right there, because they do have a lot of young talent. And
which I still see the Cat trade being very even for both teams.
Oh yeah, it's a win-win on both sides.
So win-win on both sides. No matter what anybody has to say about what happened with that trade or what both teams look like, I feel like it's the best situation in the world for Rudy Gobert. He has a star that really believes in him and really, really wants him to continue to push his potential. And I think him coupled with Anthony Edwards is going to be really good for him. And I
think Cat being in New York has really benefited him too. I mean, he really was. He was a star in New York too. He really did. Really propel that team.
That game 4 he didn't have the best game, but that fourth quarter played lights out. Yeah. So, and you can say he probably, for the Knicks, at least for the Knicks, he was probably the best player in that series for the Knicks, because we had Jalen Brunson. I guess we can go ahead and kind of segue into the Eastern Conference Finals. We had times where a lot of people were saying Jalen Brunson is he's kind of holding them back a little bit because he's holding on to the ball too long. They sat him down, and I think that game 4, and they flourished. So how do we feel about that? It's Jalen Brunson. I don't think he's in the way, because they don't get that far without him. So I really don't say. But when it comes to the playoffs, it's a different beast. You know what I'm saying? So it's just hey, maybe this is all we talked about Minnesota and OKC. It's all about the adjustments. Hey, maybe you kind of need to, take a step back per se and let the team get involved. So how do we feel about that, or involve the team, I should
say? Just remember, Jalen Brunson is the reason you guys got as far in New York that they did, right?
100%.
So I wouldn't sit there and say that, him holding onto the ball was a detriment to the team. What I will say is just remember, it's the playoffs, and anything can happen in the playoffs because you're playing teams that earn their spot. They earn their way in. It wasn't just you didn't play some Owen.
Yeah. Especially when you get
32
this far, yeah.
Sacramento
Especially when
King.
especially when you get this far in the playoffs, yeah.
I firmly believe no matter what sport it is, playoffs, if you have the momentum in your favor and you're playing hot,
Yep.
no
Yep.
matter
You're
what,
healthy.
Yep.
and you're healthy and you're really trusting your team and the program and the way everything is,
Yeah.
you're in a really good spot and you could beat anybody. And I think
That right there.
the Pacers prove that. Like, it doesn't matter who you stack against us, as long as we're playing hot. And they got hot at the right time. The first half of the season up until January, they were playing subpar basketball and they were still winning games. After January, and especially after the All-Star break, they were having the best games of the season and they were playing lights out. And then it carried them into the playoffs. And you would think it would fizzle, and it didn't fizzle yet, which is
That
why.
right there is, that's why I agree with Stephen A. about Halliburton. But go ahead.
But that's also why you can never really count them out. You can't count them out. Now, can they beat a red hot Oklahoma City Thunder who's been hot the entire season? I think it's going to be a fight.
I know
It's the NBA's nightmare.
Styles makes fight. You got one of the best offenses going against one of the best defenses. You got a team that likes to run, and you got a team that kind of, that is going to be physical with you in Oklahoma City. So yeah, this is a very interesting series. A casual fan is going to look at this as like, because there's no, I guess you could say, quote unquote big name, but like those the guys of yesteryear. But hey, man, it started. The baton is it's not even starting to get past. The baton has been passed. Like we're in a new era now. So like this is these guys' league now. Yeah, those guys, the guys we grew up watching and stuff like that. Those guys can still play at a high level, but it's just the fact that do those guys' numbers contribute to winning? Like LeBron 10 years
Kevin
ago,
Durant
15 years ago, the numbers, he could put those same numbers up, but it doesn't impact winning like it did when he was in Miami. Peak
Right.
LeBron, as I like to say, final boss LeBron, 2013 LeBron. It does that, like, he can still do that, sure, but it doesn't impact winning like it did back in the day. These guys can impact winning on both sides of the floor. One, obviously, because of the age, and two, what they're able to do in the rosters that they have around them as well. So that's
and you said styles make fights, but if you look at this matchup that we have coming up, I mean, you still have two young teams with young rosters, and look, Pascal Siakam won the
conference finals
won the
MVP,
conference finals MVP, and he averaged 24 points a game, 52% shooting. I mean, and he ended up beating out Tyrese Halliburton, who had 21 points a game. But Tyrese Halliburton did have an impressive. I saw an impressive stat out of, I believe it was game four that they won, where he had 30 points, 15 assists, and 10 rebounds. And out of those 15 assists, it was 0 turnovers. He didn't have one turnover the entire game, which is really impressive. I mean, and they call this guy overrated. I don't think he's overrated anymore. I think we got to put that to bed.
We put that. Yeah, those allegations have been after what he hit that game winner in Cleveland.
Yeah,
I think we got yeah.
But even when he hit the game winner, they were still saying, "Oh yeah, he's overrated."
Yeah,
and he's not overrated. He is exactly what he should be for the Indiana Pacers.
Yeah, now it kind of shifted. Okay, yeah, he's not overrated, but I don't think he's a superstar player. That's not me saying that. I'm just echoing somebody else's sentiments. I mean, the numbers, I guess you can kind of look at some of the numbers and be like, yeah, these are not really superstar numbers, but we got to think Chris Paul wasn't out there getting 30, 15 assist games every night. It was a lot of games where it was like 18 and 12, 20 and 9 or something like that. So, hey.
Here's the beauty part about it. He knows he's not LeBron James.
Yeah.
He knows he's not on that level. He's not trying to get on that level. No. All he's trying to do is win. That's all he's trying to do. And he's done enough to get them in contention for a championship. For the first time since 2000 and
yeah, it's been 25 years. It's been exactly 25 years. Yeah.
For the first time since 2000, they have a prime opportunity to sit there and make history. and knock off the king on the throne right now that everybody's claiming. Like the mainstream media may as well have crowned the Oklahoma City Thunder the
Most
champs.
definitely. Because I think even if Boston stayed upright, I think it was still a lot of teams. I mean, I guess Boston being back championship pedigree, you would pick Boston, but it was still a lot of people out there saying OKC, they would take OKC over Boston in a 7-game series.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
what do you think, Dre?
They are the presumed favorite.
I'm interested. Would you agree with Stephen A. for? What was your agreement on that?
The most one thing I always say about playoffs, or not one thing that I'll say, one thing I'll agree with when it comes to playoffs is always the hottest team versus the hottest player. And that's why I kind of agree with him about the notion that Halliburton might not be a superstar, is because right now he's the hottest player. He's not the person that you turn on the TV to watch in December to watch the Pacers play the Pistons on Thursday night. You'll skip over that game very easily.
Can I ask whose fault is that though? Because we've been on that. We've been on about promotion of the small market teams because guess where all these stars at? And then go ahead and finish. Because don't let me get into that again.
And I don't disagree with that part. But much to what you're saying, it would be the same notion as if Charlotte, Bobcats, Hornets, whatever, were playing the Warriors on a Monday night on ESPN. You would watch it for Steph Curry, but if Steph Curry is not on the court and LaMelo is, you probably still would go right past it. And it's not just about promotion. Sometimes it's about franchise. Sometimes it's about teams. Sometimes it's about matchups. It's a lot of different factors that go into NBA ratings. I think NBA ratings will forever be bad for a number of reasons other than just promotion. I think matchup wise and the amount of different matchups that you think you're anticipating seeing, it's a little bit too much to watch and to keep up with because of all the different storylines that go into basketball. But going back to just this particular series, I feel like this finals is about the hottest team versus the hottest player. Shea might be the MVP, but Halliburton is the hottest player right now. And I think somebody like that that's steamrolling through the Eastern Conference, which is already easy. It's easier to go into the finals with the team or with the player that's ablazing through the conference finals than it is to go through the West and for your entire team to have to be hot in order to beat every team in the West. And that's what we were talking about in the semifinals with the Thunder. Jalen Williams didn't play very well against the Nuggets, but then here in the conference finals, he played light years better. That's the thing about one through whatever. If you play 11 or you play 9, 1 through 9 from this West Coast team is gonna have to play well. One player from the East is gonna have to play well to propel his team. And the one thing I really like about a lot of East Coast teams, especially when they come into finals down or the lower seed, is they're usually pretty good about stealing the game on the road there in the first 2 games. They steal a game on the road and they go back to Indiana. It's going to be really hard to get out of here in Indiana with a win. But I think Halliburton's a really hot player right now. As far as he was just an Olympian too as well. I do think he's a star in this league, but as far as a superstar, I think this series propels him to superstar.
But I get that. But also, we always say it. The playoffs, no, regardless of the sport, the playoffs is where you make your name. Like, right. I love my Cowboys. I'm a ride with Dak Prescott, and I hate to switch sports, but we seen what Dak can do in the regular season compared to a playoffs. You know what I'm saying? And it's not all on him because it's a team aspect of it, but still, sometimes if your team is getting in your way, you need to be able to knock your team out of your way. Exactly. Like Jokic. Team gets in the way, team struggling, he can get the team out of the way. I mean, Halliburton, there's been certain cases the team was struggling. The Cleveland, the game 2, they were down. They came back and won the series, and they got a game. Yeah. He got the game winner. So it's just like it's stuff like that. It's like he's made his name in the playoffs.
And I kind of like, as much as I understand what you're saying, Dre, I will have to say this. I think the roles for me as a fan are reversed. The hottest player in the NBA to me is SGA. He won the Western Conference Finals MVP. He was anointed the MVP well before the season over. The season was over, right? he was anointed the MVP. Tyrese Halliburton wasn't even considered. And let's look at the Eastern Conference Finals. If Tyrese Halliburton is the hottest player, he should have won the Eastern Conference MVP for putting his team on his back the entire time. But you know who did? Pascal Siakam. It wasn't Tyrese Halliburton. So, and you look at the entire team of the Pacers, and they're actually all playing pretty solid as a team to get it by. So I think the hottest team in the playoffs right now is Indiana. The hottest player is SGA. But the problem is SGA has been anointed that MVP since pretty much,
like I said,
December of last year.
6 months ago,
right? And everybody thinks he is superstardom, and he is. He's playing on that superstar level, and they're discounting Tyrese Halliburton, who's playing on the hottest team and just happens to be the star, not the superstar of the team. And they want to say, well, yeah, but it's the hottest team is Oklahoma City. Well, Oklahoma City's just been hot, and they've been playing really well. But how many scraps have they been into? I mean, look, they blew out Minnesota. The scrappiest one in the series was against Denver.
Yeah.
Right? The scrappiest series was against Denver. And you look at Indiana, they were counted out of almost every game. They should not have won it. They should have been swept in the first round. And they weren't.
I ain't gonna go that far, but yeah, a lot of people did say, I ain't gonna say swept, but Bucks and 6, just with Giannis and Dame alone, even with all the problems that they have, they still look at it like, hey, this is Giannis, this is Dame, and we can still. Then we get on to the next round.
It was Bucks and 6, and then Cleveland was supposed to just blow them out.
Cleveland, but you know how we as a group, as a collective, already felt about Cleveland anyway. So toss up,
really
and then we get to.
I ain't worried about what the media say. I know what I said.
Yeah,
and I never gave them a chance.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, we're talking about what Stephen A. Smith said, and Stephen A. Smith is part of the mainstream media on that. So who really is the hottest team versus the hottest player? You're saying that the hottest team is Oklahoma City and the hottest player is Tyrese Halliburton. I tend to look at the other way around because the hottest player ended up winning Western Conference Finals MVP. He was a superstar in every game he played in the Western Conference, and I understand the Western Conference is a tough conference. But then you look at the East, and Tyrese Halliburton didn't even win Eastern Conference Finals MVP, and he kept them in damn near every game.
Yeah, but I don't want to judge him being the hottest player off 6 games and what the media thinks who was the best player versus what the person that had the greatest effect on court every series of this playoffs. And the reason I still stand by the Thunder being the hottest team is because they're still the number 1 team in the West. They were expected to win every one of their series, and going into their game is propelled every series to this point. And that's why I feel like where they made mistakes in previous rounds, even from game to game in the conference finals, they made every change that was necessary. That's why it makes it easy for me to say confidently at the beginning of the show that I think the Thunder will win because I see them putting all the pieces together.
I could even take it back to. I could take it back. I could take it a step further back to last season when they get bounced by Dallas in the second round. They addressed the issue they needed. They went and got Hardenstein.
Immediately.
So, something like that, something small like that. Like you don't have to always make a splash move every time to propel your team. They made a move like that, and look what happened. Now they're bearing the fruits of their labor now. So
and Dre, I'm not trying to sit there and I'm not. I'm just saying, like, as a fan, you can look at it either way. You know what I'm saying? Like, as a fan, you can look at it either way. Yeah. And I think that's what gives the Pacers a chance.
Yeah.
That's
what gives them a chance. Because I think they're the hottest team.
Because I can look at OKC, I don't want to do a comparison. NFL and NBA is 2 different things, but would you consider the Eagles or the Chiefs as one of the hottest teams? Nah, you can kind of a team like a Green Bay Packers team that won a Super Bowl, basically going all on the road when Aaron Rodgers. That's what you really consider a hot team. You get rolling at the right time. You stack your wins, you get into the playoffs, and wherever the chips fall, that's what we do, and then we make it to the Super Bowl. But teams like OKC that's been consistent from October all the way to now, like I wouldn't consider that hot. Like you maintained your level of success through the playoffs, and then like now, as you said, because it's the playoffs, you elevated it, to a degree, but you still kind of maintaining what you've already done, but you elevated it, and now now we're about to see what's going to happen. Like I'm still not going to make a prediction yet. Maybe if we did another, taping, because the finals is pretty much towards the end of the week. So it's just like I'm still not ready to just give out a prediction yet. But some major stories going into this, like, hey, somebody's going to get that first championship between those two guys. You got a guy like Siakam who got a ring in Toronto, so he's, I guess, the one guy. Oh, and Caruso over the Thunder. Those are the two guys that have championship medal. So
I will say though, like I will say that I mean I'm with you. If you don't want to give a prediction this early, I'll hold off on mine too. But what I will say is look at the two coaches that are in right now, and look at their style of coaching, and you look at how good they are at adjustments, and I think that's what's going to make this a series.
If Rick Carlisle, I'm not making a prediction, I'm just asking because Rick Carlisle was the coach of the Mavericks in 2011 when they took down a juggernaut. I mean, I ain't gonna really say a juggernaut because that team compared to OKC's team, I mean, outside of Bosh, Wade, and Bron, like I would take the OKC roster as it is today compared to just having those three guys. But could you compare this team to Dallas's 2011 team if Indy wins? Because it's the same coach. I mean, you got it's a different style because it's a different league. You're not running your offense through a Dirk Nowitzki type player. You're running your offense through a point guard. But
you could still make that argument because the coach is the same way, and coaching the way he coaches is he wins. So you could still make that argument. I mean, and it's not an unfair statement. You know what I'm saying? I think it's a very fair statement. I think you have you bring up an accurate point. Is he coaching similar to the way he coached when he was in Dallas? I think the personnel moves and the adjustments are similar. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like the adjustments that he's making in game and the adjustments that he's making in series and in between games is very similar to the way he did it when he was coaching the Mavericks. And I think when you look at the coaching styles, I think this is what's going to make it a good. It's going to make it a good matchup. In my eyes, I think it's going to make it a good matchup.
The only thing I'll say is there's a large difference in game planning for the best player in the world and the best player in the NBA at the time. Game planning for the best player in the world, I think, I don't know. I can only imagine the type of stress he went through in 2011 in game plan.
That's true.
But does that give him an advantage though? Does that give him an advantage because he?
Yeah, I don't know because LeBron had a series back in 2011 that it's very, very forgettable.
I was about to say he made it. I was about to say he kind of made it easy to game plan.
Yeah. And so you look at what kind of, and not to compare and contrast what maybe a Greg Popovich went through for 2 years there. Having LeBron on the ropes one particular year and then overtaking him the next. I can only imagine what for like we've talked about it so many years and so many different coaches in that respect, like have so many takes on how to guard and how to dismantle LeBron. And some of them took super teams, some of them took supernatural teams. So game plan. Rick Carlisle is a phenomenal coach. He's done something with his Pacer team that I'm really excited to see what'll happen in the finals. But you got a game plan for this entire team this time. And I think that's the biggest difference. And that's why I'm emphasizing like I can only imagine having to game plan have a whole separate book for one player and then have a book for the rest of the team. But this is a really good Oklahoma City team that you're going to game plan for based around the MVP of the league. That's why I said the best player in the league that plays around a very good team is a little easier but you don't even know which part of the snake to cut first. You don't even know which part of the snake is going to even kill it off. You could cut one piece and then you still got it slithering around, growing itself back. So, I think
But
this is a
yeah,
really strong
but we
unit.
haven't seen. And again, because we've seen when you take LeBron out of a series, we've seen what happened.
Yeah.
What if the Pacers take SGA out of the series? Yeah, you still got other guys, but it's just like if we can't get the guy going, what are we to do? Like,
does that even up the matchup?
Yeah,
then?
like how can we? Yeah, how like when we got to turn to our guy, like, hey man, hey, we need you, but and they're taking them away. Like, you know what I'm saying? What are you gonna do? Like Chiefs, they took away Saquon, but guess what?
Yeah.
And they
Had everything else
they made
going.
Jalen Hurts. They made Jalen Hurts. I mean, outside of the defense, Jalen Hurts had to make plays too because your defense can only get you so far. Your defense win championships, but your defense can only get you so far. But you still need your quarterback to make the plays. And Jalen Hurts made the necessary plays when they took Saquon out. What are we gonna do if they take SGA out? Oh, because J Dub can get hot, yeah, but Chet is streaky. Lou Dort streaky. Like, so where else are we gonna turn to?
I
And
just
you can
wonder,
make the
does
same
it?
case for the Pacers.
Yeah, I was about to say, I just wonder, does it have as great as an effect as what we've seen on other teams? And that's why I said it's so important to play like deeper into your roster and have everybody
Mm-hmm.
ready. And we've seen that a lot, especially with the Pacers and Neesmith. There's another guy I think they got right before the season was over that has played pretty well as also. But I mean, you gotta prepare at this point to be taken out of the game, whether you are fully a part of it or not. Um, I guess the question I would pose is really, is there a way to take SGA out of the game the way that he plays? They call him the free throw merchant, the foul baiter extraordinaire. He is the MVP of the league. He's got to have a
Yeah,
completely different whistle from everybody else,
that's
especially
true.
going into the NBA Finals.
But it's
So,
just but it's just like
yeah,
you compare him and James Harden in his prime and MVP season.
there we go.
When it
That's what
comes
I was
again free
looking for.
throws, it's so
Yep.
night and day. It's
Yep.
so night and day between them two. Like it's laughable. Like it
Yep.
ain't even if you did a blind resume and you put those two like free throw attempts per game, a lot of people are gonna be saying whoever got the most free. Oh, this is SGA. And it's like no, that's James Harden. If you know what you know, that's James Harden. So yeah, that's why I laugh at that free throw merchant.
I
Like
was
y'all just don't know.
I was comically gonna say, if you're asking how things should go for Rick Carlisle in this NBA Finals, go back and look at however he guarded Prime Harden and who he was coaching for, and see what he did there. Because this is exactly what you need to be preparing for, Prime Harden, pretty much.
I mean, and that's the thing. Like the free throw merchant stuff. I hate to say it, but you even take away all his free throws that he's made, and he's still a scoring leader in the NBA.
He's still like a 20 point per game scorer. So
He's still even without the free throws. So how do you take him out? I mean, you're gonna have to make him. You're gonna have to make him miss. You're gonna have to make him make difficult shots, and you're gonna have to make him miss and put him under pressure and make the pressure count.
Yeah,
the only issue with that is even when he's under pressure, he is still money, no matter where he is.
Cool as a cucumber.
I mean, so you got to find a way to rattle him. And if there is a coach that can do it, then I think Rick Carlisle's that guy. I mean, he's definitely put it on Brunson because Brunson was ice cold.
Yeah.
He had ice in his veins throughout the last half of the season.
Even the Cleveland series, like Mitchell, I know Donovan Mitchell had that game where he had almost 50, but he took like 35 shots to do that. So it's like even stuff like that. So
So there's ways to take him out. They just gotta find. I mean, this is where the coaches, they go to their Facebook posts, they go to your Instagram, they go to everything about you in your private life, and they find a way to sit there and
start playing mind games, stuff like that.
It's a mind game thing. It really is. That's what coaching is. It's a mind game thing.
I did want to pose an opposite NBA Finals question and go back to one of our Eastern Conference Finals losers. New York Knicks. Are we conversating, conjuring up? Are we even talking about a coaching change movement.
Nah, we
No.
don't. Nah.
No.
They might need to. It might need to be some like maybe some tweaks in personnel, but I don't as far as a coaching. But we have to play Tibbs on a year-to-year basis because he does have teams that peak before they should reach their peak, and then this is another situation of where they kind of I ain't gonna say they overachieved. They took advantage of a situation with Tatum going down, and before Tatum went down, what do we call the Celtics? The cruise control Celtics. And they were just out there jacking up threes that weren't going in. Some of them were quality looks. They were open, but at the same time, man, like get to the basket. You know what I'm saying? So they took advantage of stuff like that and took 2 games on the road and kind of flipped the series. So there's that.
The reason that I posed that question, just truthfully, is because I watched this. Like I said, I watched a good bit of games, in both of these conference finals. And what I continued to see from the New York Knicks was consistency in being outpaced, consistency in rotation and movement and ball movement and transition, and how the Knicks would slow down and not be able to play at the same pace as the Pacers, and how realistically this series should have been over in 5 games, but the energy and the aura that is the Mecca, the Madison Square Garden, was able to carry the Knicks into a 5th win.
But you can tell the Pacers was just playing not to want to just get back to Indy and close the series out. They were, hey man, we gonna keep it close enough to where they be like, hey, yeah, we tanked it in, but we still gonna play. But we just try to stay healthy for the next game and close it out in 6. But I do get that because the guys do play a lot of those guys do play a lot of minutes. But
and that was my
I think Tibbs,
that's been an open complaint. That's been an open complaint about Tibbs for his time in New York for quite some time now. It was the first time in quite some time that I saw that situation come to head at a very important moment. And it kind of reminded me of last year with the Timberwolves, who were kind of gassed at the same point last year.
I still don't think you're looking at Thibodeau leaving, and I don't think it's a good move if New York does do that. I think he's the coach of that team. You can't get rid of him because you say they didn't overachieve. I think they honestly they did overachieve for what they were expecting to do. And you're looking at bringing something good to basketball to New York, to a mainstream market. I don't think they're going to get rid of him. I think Tibbs is safe.
Yeah. Now if they, go on a slump or something like that, that's about the only reason. But I don't foresee that happening to them. But there are obviously going to be some changes. Like any team that falls short, no matter what round, there's always going to be some changes. Like even Denver is going to have to make some changes, like a Jamal Murray and Michael Porter situation. So it's just like
rosters change. Rosters are meant to change.
Even championship teams tweak their rosters a little bit. So
rosters change, but that's the only thing that will change. As far as him coaching, I think his coaching style is different. Is beneficial for New York. Now, decisions that he makes will have to be adjusted moving further, right? It's all on how he learns. Is he going to learn from the mistakes he made in the finals? I think so. And I think you're looking at New York being another contender again next year.
Most definitely. Yeah, because like we already talked about Boston, like that temporary closing of the window because of the Tatum injury, and then what they got to do, the decisions they got to make. So, the East is,
in the meantime,
pretty much wide open. You know what I'm saying? So, we'll see. And Thunder no, I'm not ready yet still because tomorrow I might be like, you know what? I'm going to be the guy that take the Pacers. Then I'm going to just keep flip-flopping until.
I'll tell you what, let's do our way too early finals prediction.
Thunder in 6. Again.
Dre says Thunder in 6. Anthony, way too early. You can still change your mind.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely changing because this is a hot take. Sweep. Thunder in 4.
Ooh, Thunder in 4.
Thunder in 4.
I'm going to say
that today.
I'm going to agree that right now today I'm going to agree that the Thunder win, but I think it's going to go to a full 7. I think it's going to go to a full 7 because I think Indiana's scrappy. So I'm going to say the Thunder in 7, and I think it's going to be a finals to remember. I think we're going to see a lot of close games.
Yeah, this might be. And as far as the totality of the playoffs, I really don't want to kind of do a whole playoff recap. I guess I can because the finals are not over. But as far as like this has been an amazing playoffs. So we had we had the series of the first round between the Nuggets and Clippers, then the series of the second round between Nuggets and Thunder. Conference finals, yeah, they both were, yeah. Like Pacers could have won in 5-2 as well. So, but outside, but still, it's been an amazing playoffs. We got some unexpected matchups. Like we seen, like nobody expected Boston, even with the injury to Tatum. Nobody expected Boston to get taken out the way they taken out, even though they kind of took themselves out those first 2 games. Well, we already knew what we got from Cleveland, so regular season team, 60 wins at best. So it's just like that. And then the Lakers, the media hype train Lakers, love my Lakers, but they got media hype knowing Lakers were fatally flawed. But hey, I think the Lakers could take the Thunder in a conference final series, and they didn't even make it out of the first round. Yeah, exactly. So but yeah, in totality, this has been a great playoffs. We might, I don't want to speak in terms of next year because I don't want to get told 8 years, 8 different champions, but it seems it might be a lot of teams, like young teams. Like I think the Pistons will probably flourish and rise up above to where they were this season. I think a team like the Portland Trailblazers can possibly make the playoffs. The Spurs, when they get healthy and, whoever they take in the draft, that's going to be a team to watch. So, but yeah.
I think we have the NBA is flourishing right now, and I think this is going to be good for the NBA. I think this is going to bring them a lot of views, and I'm very happy to see the NBA getting back to the NBA that I loved when I was growing up. I'm very happy to see that style of basketball coming back too, because it has been more physical.
Yes,
and
all the best players. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think when you look at the overall of this playoffs, I think this playoffs really does highlight the benefits of the NBA and what the NBA is doing. So it's been an exciting NBA. On the other side of it, and another sport that I know we really don't touch on much, however, I do want to touch on a little bit, is the NHL playoffs.
Shout out to the Panthers, man. Repeat.
We do have I guess you would call it a Stanley Cup final coming up, rematch. Oh yeah, between the Oilers and the Florida Panthers. So I think that's going to be pretty exciting too. Can Connor McJesus win another one? Can Connor McDavid get one? And get one past the Florida Panthers, or is Kachuk and crew going to sit there and just take it over?
The NHL. I think they've had repeat champions in recent years. Then the Lightning win back to back. Recently.
Lightning won back to back. They're the most recent ones that won back to back.
We've seen that in the NHL, and obviously we've seen with the NFL with the Chiefs, and they were on the cusp of a three-peat. So it seems like the NBA is the only one that we're seeing different champions now. So, but yeah, I think this is going to be an interesting Cup Finals. As you said, this is a rematch, so this can go either way. This can be the Spurs Heat. We were close, but then we come back the next year and we crush the guys, or we could just see.
But I will say
we're just better.
I will say though that having them play concurrently with the NBA did not damage any of the ratings on either side. As a matter of fact, I think it helped. And both playoffs are hot.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
So
holy I'm having airball. No, I'm just playing. Going around on social media, holding the effing airball. But yeah, like I said, I can make a prediction for that because I don't really have no dog in that fight. So I'll just say Panthers in a light 6.
I'll say Panthers in 5. I think they're playing too hot right now.
Whoa. Okay, we
Connor
hot.
McDavid.
Oh, going with Connor McJesus.
And shout out to that baseball team in Marietta, because they're not in Atlanta. Shout out to that baseball team in Marietta. Acuna,
yeah,
he's coming back. He's coming back hot. He's coming
hot
back
with
hot.
bat with the bat. Hot with the bat.
Yeah, so we pretty much at the end of the show. We ain't got one of those crazy questions like the most important position of all the sports and nothing like that. Oh, we did have that one, but we've been going for so long that the best.
We
sports
forgot
movie,
about it.
Yeah, so we've been going, but so we're gonna re-ask you, ladies and gentlemen out there, any viewers, what is the best sports movie of all time? Shout out to the Mighty Ducks. Shout out to the Angels in the outfield. Shout out to Remember the Titans. Shout out to Bad News Bears. Longest Yard, the old one, and the remake. Shout out to Invincible. No, that's the worst one. But that's all I got. I ain't got no more sports movie on top of my head. Blue Chips. Hoosiers.
Blue Chips was good. I did like Blue Chips.
Now, Glory Road, I get a little emotional behind that Glory Road, the Texas Western, now known as UTEP, what they did, that movie. So that's like my second favorite Disney movie behind, outside from the animated ones, behind Remember the Titans. But yeah, I don't have any more. Oh, The Rookie. I don't have any more sports movies now. Any Given Sunday. Shout out to Willie Beeman, Al Pacino. But all right, I'm done now, man. I got
Dre, what you got? What are your top movies? Top sports movies.
Friday Night Lights, for sure. Little Giants is number 2.
Spike don't play with girls.
Icebox.
And number 3 is He Got Game, for sure.
Ooh. Jesus, Shuttlesworth. You know that's supposed to be Kobe, right? Long live Mamba. But yeah,
hey man.
I'm gonna go a little throwback. My
love and basketball is the no. Go ahead, right
my all time favorite sports movie. I love Rudy.
Coach Carter, what?
Rudy
can have my jersey, Coach.
I love that. If that movie's on, I'm watching it.
What about Wildcats? It's the sport of kings.
Rudy, bro.
Diamond rings.
and then I'll have to agree with you. Mighty Ducks. Shout out to the Mighty Ducks. That movie was awesome. Major League.
Ooh. Wild Thing.
Oh, dude, come on.
What about Hardball? Long live G baby. I'm going off the rail. Yeah, that ain't really.
It's all about the Mighty Ducks, and then it's all about Major League, and then
because everybody can say. I mean, I guess because the consensus would probably be Remember the Titans because it's just Denzel and Denzel's aura, but it's like aside from Remember the Titans, ladies and gentlemen. So because that's an easy answer. That's like me saying, hey, the best rapper Lil Wayne. But nah, you got to choose something else.
Too easy.
But I do. I mean, I love Remember the Titans too. I think that was a great movie. But another one, you said Blue Chips, and I liked Blue Chips too. But just to go a different way, He Got Game is definitely one of my favorite.
Certified classic.
And White Man Can't Jump.
Oh yeah, 100%.
The new one, right? No, it's
no.
I know
You
we
gotta
talking
go
about
classic, bro.
I know we talking about Woody and Wesley. Come on now.
Wesley, dude, come on.
Woody, love Woody, man.
I actually enjoyed this part of the show, but we got to get out of here, man. But thank y'all for tuning in. It's nice to be back. We feeling nice, reset, recharged after this break. We keep bringing you this awesome content. Just please be sure to like, share, subscribe, and push this out and push us out into that algorithm as we're trying to grow this channel. And I will want to highlight that my co-host Raphael has also started his podcast. If you want to give a brief description on what that's about and highlight what you're doing over there, please.
I did just start my podcast. I am the host and creator of the Outranked podcast with my co-host Steve Lewis. It is for first responders and military veterans, and we just want to get to know and grow a platform for them to share their story, for them to share why they served and some funny stories throughout the service in a water cooler type environment, or as we used to consider it, the smoke pit, because that's where you got some of your best advice and some of your best conversations happened.
Shout out to all the barracks lawyers out there.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh, we're going to talk about that too. But also one of the important topics we want to talk about is the transition portion of when you decide, if you decide to get out, or when you're deciding to get out of service, whether it be firefighter, police officer, EMT, or military veteran, what the struggles and successes are when you transition in and out of that, and how it changes you, and the things and the struggles that you may face, and how we can better support our brothers and sisters who have served. So, if you would like to come join Outranked Pod on Instagram, Outranked Pod on X, and the Outranked Pod the Outranked Podcast on YouTube, and catch us. We just filmed our first episode. We just published it, and we're coming up on episode number 2 this week.
Make sure you send that link to the group so I can.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna check it out. Yes, sir. And Dre, you got anything? I know you got your channel to promote. Shout out to Drism Gaming.
That's all. Nothing that
No,
Hey,
catch
man.
it because it's entertaining stuff. It's
Yeah.
entertaining stuff.
It's good
Even if you
stuff,
don't
man.
know
Just come check me out.
if you don't watch any kind of
It's down
professional
here,
wrestling,
man. Yeah.
They can't see that
follow
when we
him.
put the video out.
Follow-
They can't see that. They can't see that when we put the video out. But
follow him. Follow
Drism
him.
Gaming, ladies and gentlemen. Yes,
Yeah,
Drism
man.
Gaming. And I'm going to take us out. Thank y'all for tuning in to another great episode of Let Me Say This. This will be episode lucky number 13. And Pacers in, not making a prediction. I'm out. Thank you.